Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello again.
How are you? We are very pleased to be with you again.
As you know, in Unit 4 we've talked about the American melting pot, the mixture of races, religions and nationalities, which has always been one of the characteristic aspects of American culture.
And of course, in today's documentary, it was just logical that we travel to the USA, and we did. We traveled to one of that country's most representative places, New York City. There we tried to find out what happens when people of all nationalities and religions live together.
Chinese, Koreans, Italians, Irish, Hispanics, Indians, Russians, Jews, Buddhists, Christians, Protestants, they all have a place in this city of 1,000 cultures.
Let's have a look at some useful words you'll hear in the documentary. For example, neighborhood. It's a very American term, and it means barrio in Spanish.
Another new word is animosity. It means hostilidad.
Now, take note of the questions you will have to answer after watching the documentary. In our documentary, you're going to see a street survey. You have to name 4 different countries where the interviewees come from.
The second question is very simple. In which part of New York is Chinatown?
And finally, what does Mr. Vardy think is New York's attitude to racism?
So let's fly across the Atlantic to the Big Apple in our Out and About.
New York is said to be the capital of the world. It's a place where practically all races and religions are present. 1/3 of the population of New York City have been born somewhere else.
We decided to carry out a street survey. We asked a few people in the street where they came from. These were their answers.
Where do you come from?
From Israel.
I was born in Korea.
Where do I come from? From South America, Ecuador.
I came from India.
I was born in Warsaw, Poland.
I come from Indonesia.
Colombia, South America.
I was born in Seoul, Korea.
I'm from Bangladesh.
I was born right here in Manhattan.
As you could see and hear, the diversity of accents and cultures is the rule in New York. Walking around the streets of this city is like going on a quick tour around the world.
The Big Apple is in fact a collection of the smaller neighborhoods where their inhabitants keep a great part of the culture and lifestyle of their countries of origin.
One of the most typical ethnic neighborhoods in Manhattan is Little Italy. Nowadays it is just a few streets, but they have kept the characteristic atmosphere of the Italian way of life.
Many streets in the old Italian quarter have been absorbed by Chinatown, this little oriental city where even the telephone booths look like pagodas, lies right in the center of Manhattan. In the local shops, you can buy the same produce as in Beijing, and its inhabitants keep a great part of their customs and their culture.
Not far from Chinatown, you can find some of the most Orthodox Jews in the world. The Jewish community in New York has always been very influential and has kept their language and their religious traditions fervently.
Hispanics occupy an important place in the Big Apple too. Everywhere in New York, you can hear that strange mixture of English and Spanish called Spanglish. Hispanics are the fastest growing ethnic minority in New York City. Puerto Ricans are the largest group, but there are also a great number of Dominicans, Cubans and Colombians.
Well, last year I opened my own market, because it was about time for something new to come along, and I thought a bilingual single, that can't go wrong. So everybody chill as I flow.
Harlem was planned as a district for the rich. The project, however, failed, and it was the black immigrants arriving in New York who finally settled here. Today, Harlem is the most important black neighborhood in New York. Most of the people living in it are black.
New York seems to keep a difficult balance of races and cultures. That's why we asked Frank Vardy if there are racial conflicts in this city.
If there's a key to New York and racism, it's basically that New York is a tolerant city. Toleration is where New York is at. It's always been that way. In fact, although there are racial animosities and religious animosities across the world, when the immigrants from those countries come to New York, those animosities are non-existent for the great part. In fact, if ever they break out, it's front page news because they just don't occur in New York.
Mr. Vardy is a demographer in New York City Hall. He knows the problems created by the mixture of cultures very well, and he knows how that affects the city's way of life.
The difference between New York and other towns is that New York has always had this influx from the rest of the world. It's the amalgam of all of these particular flavors that make the New York experience, because they never quite melt. There's always enough of them showing through, whether it's food or it's fashion, whether it's language or it's art, it's culture, it's theater. They always have the flavor from other parts of the world. And New Yorkers accept this willingly and are always ready to take advantage of something good that's come from someplace else.
This is New York, the city of the 1,000 cultures where no one feels a foreigner.
The first thing we asked you to do was to name 4 different countries where the interviewees came from. Let's see.
I was born in Korea.
Where do I come from? From South America, Ecuador.
I came from India.
I was born in Warsaw, Poland.
And the second question was, in which part of New York is Chinatown?
This little oriental city, where even the telephone booths look like pagodas, lies right in the center of Manhattan.
And the answer is, Chinatown is in Manhattan.
And finally, what does Mr. Vardy think is New York's attitude to racism? Let's see.
It's basically that New York is a tolerant city.
Mr. Vardy thinks New York's attitude to racism is toleration. New York is a tolerant city.
And now it's time for our sketch. In it, I'm very close to becoming the President of the United States. But, well, although certain advisors make it quite impossible.
Watch carefully and you'll see what a politician should never be like.
We all know this country has a lot of problems, a lot. Something has to be done urgently, because the time has come to say no to discrimination. The time has come to unite all races, to stop fighting each other. Citizens, friends, I'd like to introduce you to the man who's going to be our party's candidate for the next presidential elections, Gary Picker. The man this country needs, because if you're all for the future of this nation, You have to vote for Gary Picker. An honest, hard-working, efficient man. With you, our candidate, Gary Picker.
Thank you.
You must remember what I've told you. This is a multiracial country. You must get the votes of ethnic minorities.
I need to smoke. You got a line?
You can't smoke in here.
But I need to smoke to calm down.
A candidate must never smoke in public. As the director of your campaign, I forbid you to smoke.
Okay. There's no need for you to get angry.
And now, with you, our candidate, Gary Picker.
Remember, you must smile all the time.
Hello? I don't need to remind you of the reason why I'm here. I've come here to tell you...
What I have to say now?
You have to convince them to vote for you.
Oh. Well, citizens, you have to vote for me in the next election. Now, I don't care what race you are. I only care about your vote.
You needn't be so honest.
God made us all equal. Well, nearly equal.
You must be careful with what you say.
All right.
Well, when my great-great-grandparents arrived in America on the Mayflower, they had to work very, very hard. They had always lived in Spain, but they had to emigrate.
They know you're lying. There were no Spaniards in the Mayflower.
No Spaniards on the Mayflower?
None. They were all English. You mustn't lie. You must tell the truth.
The truth, huh?
Well, I've been told to be sincere, and that's what I'm going to be. I had never believed in racial equality until I got into politics. Then they convinced me that
What he means is that we must all fight for racial equality. Today, more than ever, we need everybody's cooperation. Because we must all help build a society where the color of your skin doesn't count. We won't allow a few dishonest politicians to tell us what we must do. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the new candidate, Sarah Ashton.
you can't do this to me. I'm the candidate. I have to finish my speech.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see what we've learned in this unit.
It's time for summing up.
Entre otras cosas, hemos aprendido cómo denominar a los habitantes de algunos países.
También hemos repasado la forma de expresar obligación, ausencia de obligación y prohibición con diversos matices.
Y hemos aprendido a hablar sobre el pasado con diversos matices.
We'll see you in the next program.
See you soon.
Bye.